Hello and welcome to Tim's BMW repairs and information. Now what am I doing today? Car's running, the headlights are on, there's stuff everywhere. Yeah, welcome to another day, a usual day in E31 ownership. Now this one today is because I've got to get through the MOT. Now there were two things that stopped me getting through the MOT. One of them was the rear shocks. That's fine, they've been leaking forever. You can still get them from BMW. So yeah, the number is 33521137474. That's the dampers, that's dampers down there. Two of them directly from BMW Stevenage. 370 quid each, yeah, not cheap. But there you go, that's what you got to pay. Yeah, the other failure in the MOT was the headlight facing the wrong way. Yeah, I'm afraid this is just another day in E31 ownership. Yeah, all the mechanical stuff is usually okay. We did the thermostat and the chain tensioner last week, that was. But you know, when it comes down to plastic bits, which the headlights are, yeah, I'm afraid they've got a habit of just disintegrating. Bit like the FTPs, that's an FTP, that's the light strip that's below. By the way, I've seen an advert on eBay where someone's just selling this half of it, you know, and they called it a fog light. Well, it's not. That's one of the headlights, or the FTPs, and that's an indicator, and it's all part of the same bit of plastic. And they also wanted about 400 euros for them. Very strange. Yeah, anyway, I'm off the point. Yeah, plastic bits. Yeah, I mean, these sort of things just don't last. And this is meant to have tabs on the end of it here, and they've just dropped off. And you can glue them on a few times, which I did, glued it on many times. And then at some point you got to say, oh, I'm just going to have to buy a new one. 400 quid each, yeah, that's per side, 400 quid for that. And then 400 quid for the loom. Yeah, it's not cheap at all, is it? So yeah, as a general rule, you try and keep these plastic bits going as long as possible. And it's the same with the headlights. Now, what's gone wrong with this is, I'll show you a diagram, is the headlight assembly has an internal assembly that's balanced on 3 spigots, and 2 of them are adjusters. So one of them's meant to be fixed, which is the fulcrum. The other 2 you adjust to get up and down and left and right adjustment. As you can tell, they're reiterative, which means that you can get one right, and then you've got to fiddle about to get the other one right, and then the first one you started with goes wrong, and so on. Anyway, the problem with these is that the plastic of the adjusters, now it's a metal bar with a ball joint at one end, a plastic ball joint, white plastic, they seem to last all right. Other end is the adjuster, and we'll call it a bobbin. It's got bobbin, and it's got 3 castellated bits at the end which go through the plastic housing of the headlamp. Now the idea is that you can rotate the metal part, which is threaded, and then you can adjust the headlamps. The problem is that the plastic parts obviously all disintegrate, and if you're really lucky, the bit that they go through in the headlight disintegrates at the same time. On my car, what's happened is the fulcrum has become unstuck. Now, I had to think back a very long time. I think it's somewhere between 8 and 10 years ago. I was at work and I was going to pull out the car park, and the headlamp was just pointing miles to the right. And what had happened was the fulcrum adjuster had failed, and so I glued it back in place. Unfortunately, I glued it back in the wrong place. So I had to make further adjustments with the 2 outer adjustments to get it right. So let's have a quick look at what's gone on in the headlight. Got the engine running, so I've got the lights on, and I don't want to flatten the battery. So let's have a look in there. There you go, that's one of the adjusters. That's the fulcrum adjuster, that one there. And all that gunk you can see is araldite. Now, to get the headlights to be correct position again is the outer adjustments. These 2 here, there's one there and one below it. They were moved in from their correct position to get the adjustment right again. What's happened? Yeah, it's a long time ago. I'd forgotten all about it. It's something I should have fixed a long time ago, but it passed all its MOTs. This time it failed because the fulcrum has now become disconnected from everything else. And at the same time, one of the adjusters on the end of the light has also failed. its plastic has failed again. So what I should do really is take off both of the bobbins and replace them with cable clamps. Now this is something I've done in the past with the left-hand headlamp. Scrunch the adjusters off and replace them with cable clamps, and they're really handy things. And you just glue them into the housing and then tighten up the back of them, and yeah, that forms a really effective adjuster. And you can adjust the headlamps in the same way by twiddling the back of them with a little Torx, female Torx bit. Yep, I haven't got a chance to do this. I've got to get through the MOT. So choices are, yeah, just crunch off all the araldite, fit cable clamps. Yeah, it's a good chance I'm going to mangle a few things doing that. I need a bit more time to do it properly. So yeah, in this case, I'm just going to have to glue the fulcrum back again and then glue the other broken adjuster at the end. Yeah, this is just standard E31 stuff. Things just disintegrate, and plastic things disintegrate, and wires disintegrate. So we know the wiring loom in the hinge of the boot, that fails on regular occasions, and you can replace it. But because of the sharp angles involved, it eventually fatigues again. Now, there was talk of them being biodegradable wiring, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure of the truth in that at all. It's just rotten and it falls apart, basically. And plastic is another. So yeah, I could replace the headlamp. That's more or less 1,400 quid per side. So yeah, I'm going to glue it together. As simple as that. And then of course you've got to adjust the headlamps. Now, adjusting headlamps when you've got one headlamp still in the right place, very easy, no problem at all. When you've got both headlamps pointing the wrong way, then it's very difficult. But I've got one pointing the right way, which is the left, which is the near side in the UK. It's just the off side, the right-hand headlight has failed. So what you do is you adjust, or you measure between the headlamps, which is 51 inches between the dip beams on both sides. Project the light onto something white, and I'll use just an old dust sheet. That works pretty well. While I was doing it, it was quite bright, so it wasn't as easy as I thought. But it's just really a case of adjusting the left and right adjustment so that you've got 51 inches between the two beams. Now, the two beams are easy to see. They have an upturn on one side and then they go horizontal. And that part where it's just gone upright, that should equal 51 inches to the other one where it's got the upturn. And yeah, the job's a good one. Yeah, of course, doing it with just araldite is a lot harder than it seems. But yeah, it's easy to be done. Yeah, I've done it quite a few times as well. Where various bits drop off, usually what happens is just one adjuster fails, and then you just crunch it, all bits of it off with a pair of pliers, replace it with a cable clamp, and reset the headlamp aim again. That's the easiest way to do it. So yeah, normal day in E31 ownership. It's been pretty good, to be honest, because let's face it, 8 years since I temporarily glued together that last adjuster, and I've never changed the shocks, which is another failure on the MOT. Still available from BMW, £377 each. Yeah, they're not cheap, but they're still available. And as long as you order it through BMW and give them your VIN number, they'll tell you if that's exactly the right part. In fact, going through real OEM, I chose what I thought was the right shock absorber for the sports model, but I've got Nürburgring suspension, or M Sport suspension on mine, which is a different part, and they very kindly got in touch and said, that's the wrong part. Do you want us to order the right part? Oh, yes, please. So yeah, shock absorbers, that'll be done on Wednesday. Should get through the MOT now because of the shocks and the headlamps being adjusted. So I'll let you know if I get through the MOT. But yeah, that's just a normal day in E31 ownership. Just an additional bit of information for you. If you want the headlights to stay up even when they're off, trick is turn the ignition on. I'll turn you around. Put the ignition on. Whip the headlights up and down 6 times, up. Headlights will come up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Last one, stays up. Ignition off. Headlights are now up, even though they're off, and we can get to them a bit easier. Anyway, if that helps you, put the thumbs up, keep commenting, love the comments. I got quite behind on the comments. I think I'm more or less caught up now. If you've got a complicated one, put it on bimmerforums.co.uk or bimmerforums.com and you get much more than me answering your questions, and there's much more room to do it in and you get more opinions. Anyway, thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one.